Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University.
Dear learner, all are welcome in Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University, and we are going to discuss and to elaborate and to present MA-JMC paper number 07, and the paper name Reporting Skills, Print, Radio, TV and Digital, unit number 3, Essential Skills Needed for Reporting. This is the most important unit of this paper, and my name is Dr. Durgesh Tripathi. I am Associate Professor, University School of Mass Communication, and going to present this unit in front of you. And the main objective of this unit to understand the role of a reporter, introduce the students to the world of news gathering, and give students an insight into the reporting skills. And I do believe that after completion of this unit, all the learners, all the students of this paper acquire the skills that a reporter needs, and understand what reporting or news gathering is, and you may be able to develop writing skills and communicate clearly and effectively in the working environment where it's with your colleagues, editors or sources. If we would like to introduce this paper or this unit, the press is autonomous of the administration, and they are regular enemies with various capacities, and each must regard the job of the other. Once in a while, a free press can be unmistakable aggravation and a shame to a specific government, yet that is one of the costs of freedom. A free press is mindful of its pursuers and only them. A free press must love its job by opposing weights of numerous types from the neighborhood, just as the national government from particular vested parties in the network, from influential people, from publicists, so that you can be able to understand about the basic idea of this unit. And a reporter explores and presents data in specific kinds of broad communications. Journalists accumulate their data in an assortment of ways, including tips, official statements and seeing occasions. They perform research through meetings, open records and different sources. The data assembling some portion of the activity is once in a while called announcing as unmistakable from the creation part of the activity. For example, composing articles. Columnists for the most part split their time between working in a newsroom and going out to observe occasions or meeting individuals. Detailing abilities can be scholarly, much the same as some other expertise. The whole detailing process includes setting destinations through information, social event and examination devices, arranging, drafting, altering and planning the report, where curiosity is the most important point. Correspondents must present a decent perspective on the network, state, country and the world past fingers. To do so, they require a specific measure of aptitude, tolerance, and comprehension. Along these lines, a journalist must know all about the news. What's more, in such a manner, interest is a writer's most esteemed resource. Without interest, there would truly be no newscasting. Interest is the primary drive behind each incredible story. Just by positioning inquiries, we can effectively investigate and get the appropriate responses and realities that we distribute to our pursuers. With an ongoing increment in counterfeit news, it's pivotal to be interested and to address realities as well. And Adag says, snooping around can lead to unexpected trouble. Absence of interest slaughters the journalist. So that you can be able to understand the important point and message in between. A correspondent who is not interested will simply rehash realities that are as of now known. Interest is the readiness to discover more. We have to borrow further and pose inquiries that have not been asked at this point during a time that is overflowed with data. Interest likewise includes being persevering and thirsty, not being content with pieces of data. Columnists won't let go of a subject until they have agreeable answers. Interest is not just the main impetus with regards to composing a decent story, it is likewise the principal motivating forces to learn new techniques for directing examination of present day types of conveying stories. The hunger for information is the thing that makes a columnist need to gain proficiency with the treatment of new instruments and advances. For example, new programming or computerized hardware, so that you can be able to understand curiosity is the most important point to develop a news story. Procedures and apparatus use are developing quicker than at any time in recent memory. Without the interest to learn new techniques, journalists will remain behind and lose significance. Seriousness is the key in the media field, and along these lines, they have to stay up with the latest with innovation. The inspiration to learn and investigate new advanced instruments is so significant because it makes a columnist put that additional piece of exertion into her work. Inquisitive columnists may go to courses outside of their work time. Some may explore different avenues regarding new computerized chances to deliver additionally engaging pieces. Also, they will acquire a bit of leeway over their less inquisitive partners who will in general keep up with customary types of account introduction. A journalist has the best employment on the planet. He or she can ask anyone anything, consistently brings something new. Interest is their age. It's the place convincing stories originate from, and the columnist must understand that they compose the primary draft of history, the best accessible adoption of reality. A working majority rules system, free society, and responsibility of the entrepreneur framework lay on their shoulders. The misfortune and absence of interest have numerous roots. Veterans wear out. They become ill of covering something very similar again and again, and nothing appears to change. Some of the time, they face editors who turn down stories and can't express why. On different occasions, they don't have the fuzziest idea of how to try out that story to get a supervisor's advantage. New journalists are frequently tossed out of luck without training or tutoring. Some newsrooms, societies are characteristically lagging, where the age is we have just done the story, regardless of whether they did it 10 years back. In the period of HR driven organizations, editors who might give a profane dressing down or be dramatically persuasive, 31 are disapproved of. The push to impair stories, generally top down task out of the early daytime meetings, dangers transforming everyone into a mind dead working drone. Columnists will in general be mentally inquisitive individuals with a hunger for data and occasions. Regardless or whether you have expensive information or pro nature with the subject, you are ready to start up discussions with anybody, inundate yourself in the subtleties, and remain inquisitive and addressing to reveal reality. Curiosity drives a decent columnist forward. A person who watches life inactively or unresponsibly comes up with salt on the capacity to pose the correct inquiries. A decent, intensive columnist continually poses inquiries about his general surroundings and consistently looks for the full truth behind each story. Now we can be able to understand about empathy. Empathy related with the news reporting and editing. Mishaps, murders, and instances of rape and brutality overwhelm the sequence of media reports. Writers are faced with the trouble some inquiries when such occurrence happen. Whom do we approach for data? When does the mission of subtleties become an interpretation into snapshots of misery? How would we move past essential realities and give a human face to misfortune in a delicate way? While many print columnists wrestle with this ethical problem, numerous journalists of 24/7 news channels, particularly nearby channels, have brief periods to consider such inquiries as solemn passings and provoke open interest. While writers regularly float around a casualties home, sitting tight for the supposed right second to ask the kinfolk inquiries, TV columnist, dog deprived relatives, and camera persons even seek for a perspective on the body in the emergency vehicle. Being a piece of media outlets, the papers need to enthrall their crowd regardless as they pay their way through selling, publicizing, not selling news. So they should engage the biggest crowd with alluring socioeconomics for publicists, and the most ideal approach to do what is by covering worldwide stunning issues to make the world interesting. Sympathy plays out a focal job in managing social relations. This applies similarly to editorial work schedules. Compassion involves a focal spot in news creation, satisfying different jobs. It serves to accomplish far reaching access to data and news heroes at the relational level. Without this imperceptible method of correspondence, subjective and moral news reporting can't be accomplished, and the realness and emotionally of news bundles would be reduced. Sympathy differs on the individual level. However, particularly in touchy editorial work fields, it speaks to a normally present center of expertise for writers. A last empathic measurement is found in the fanciful sympathy towards a crowd which gives fundamental direction to editorial news items. The inclusion of a misfortune created by proficient writers influences how a network and country react to the basic causes. If we look upon a case study, and we can be able to understand with this example, around 70 kids, a large number of the newborn children kicked the bucket in the pediatric and neonatal branch of the Baba Raghav Das Medical College and Hospital in Gorakhpur in 2017. Numerous passed on having for air as the graceful oxygen ran out in the emergency clinic. This national misfortune ought to have featured the unsafe state of the general well-being framework in our country, particularly in the northern states, yet what we got was government issues, of course. For what reason was it that our first gut response to a continuous misfortune of kids kicking the bucket from cerebral anoxia, while numerous guardians were all the while battling to keep their infants alive by siphoning air into their lungs for quite a long time. And we can be able to understand this situation, so that we have to understand about the empathy and the inclusion in specific areas of the media should embraces Indian reporting. Inside hours, the focal point of the revealing moved away from the casualties to recrimination and fault. A cardinal standard of covering a human misfortune is that revealing as a matter of first importance, ought to be compassionate to the torment of the people in question. A columnist's first obligation is to make the bigger society experience and this torment by shipping crowds to the area of misfact. The politicizing of misfortune not just divert from the agony of the people in question and the network, it frequently lays the ground for crushing any future examinations and basic changes too. Human misfortunes can draw out the best and the most noticeably terrible in the newscasting. Lamentably, practically speaking, it has frequently featured the most noticeably terrible in the media, drama, absence of compassion, showcase, seriousness, and fanatic point scoring that are ordered to our favored meta stories about the predominant political atmosphere. In the clamorous conditions of a misfortune, realities are frequently opposed. Writers ought to abstain from making a political point before the real factors are known and affirmed. Tell your crowds just realities that have been reviewed utilizing standard editorial techniques. In the period of online networking, columnists have a more noteworthy way to check gossipy tidbits and prevent elective realities from spreading. The issue is that in the quickness of misfortune, the media goes in full power, frequently to beat its opposition at the appraisals game and afterward pulls back as quickly as it went in. In Indian newscasting, there is not an excessive amount of ascension or follow-up story that keep up the weight on the legislature and organization to make the best decision. The media rapidly moves to the following breaking story when actually, on the off chance that they wish to give chances to recrimination and fault. It is exactly in all around explored follow-up stories that this angle can be circulated. Moral news coverage treats sources, subjects, partner and individuals from general society as people meriting regard. A columnist must show sympathy for the individuals who might be influenced by news inclusion. He should utilize elevated affectability when managing adolescents, casualties of sex wrongdoings, and sources or subjects who are unpracticed or unfit to give assent. They may likewise think about social contrasts in approach and treatment. Now we have to understand about observation for reporting and editing. Being an ardent eyewitness is significant in turning into a decent columnist. Perception is an activity. It includes watching something or somebody to pick up data. It's important to observe them. Perception is not just about observing and looking. On the off chance that you are watching a person or things as a component of the way toward get together, data for a story, there are a couple of things you should know. To begin with, when individuals realize they are being watched, they consequently carry on unexpectedly. It is simple human instinct. Consider it from your point of view. Is not it genuine that when somebody is watching you, you become more reluctant and maybe even overstate your conduct? Considering this, if you are embraced as an analytical piece, it is presumably better than the object of your perception is not made mindful, so you can get a more real read on the circumstances. Perceptions without recording them are genuinely useless to the columnist. Some portion of the perception procedure is recording. What's more, perceptions do exclude only the feeling of sight, and the best perceptions endless supply of your faculties, sight, sound, smell, contact and taste at every possible opportunity are suitable. The advantage of perception to columnists is that it permits them to see occasions and people in their characteristic setting. Along these lines, giving assurance and credibility to a story. At that point, there are times when an individual is reluctant to address a columnist for any number of reasons, and watching them may reveal data that would some way or another not be accessible. However, is regardless valuable to people in general. The eyewitness columnist must work to be unnoticed, so they don't impact the result of the perception in any capacity. Perception is valuable when you as a writer need to get immediate data and to all the more likely comprehend parts of an occasion or procedure. Continuous conduct or unfurling circumstances, so that you can be able to understand about each and everything of observation. Perception is certainly a remarkable instrument for columnists and one they ought to consider when deciding to compose any story. Saying this does not imply that there are not a few inconveniences to perception also. For instance, perceptions alone and without setting might be hard to investigate, or potentially many prompt editorial inclination in the relating of the perception. It can likewise prompt confusion when just a little piece of a bigger picture is inspected. 2. In numerous societies, it is viewed as improper, if not completely illicit, to watch the goings on this of specific gatherings or occasions. At the end of the day, alongside perception come inquiries regarding the morals of taking part in it. The peruser is reminded that morals are an issue that ought to be routinely returned to with the improvement of any new story, including the endeavors used to assemble the data and, for example, perception. That is because there is an incredible potential for misuse and intrusion of protection. On the off chance that in your editorial undertakings you aim to watch a person or things, at the point the accompanying exhortation may be useful. Start by figuring out who or what you plan to watch and the different angles this perception will incorporate. For instance, would you say you are watching an individual, gathering or occasion to gather data about their qualities, practices, mentalities, or different concerns? Maybe you need to expound on the mentalities of secondary school female understudies who take propelled science courses and are in a male ruled educational program. How might you locate this out of basic perceptions? How might you watch them in appropriate? That carries us to the following inquiry when getting ready to take part in perception for editorial purposes. Where and when will these perceptions happen? Over what period and what number of perceptions? Set aside the effort to explore what different columnists have composed regarding the matter of perception. At that point, build up a lot of rules you will use to do it. Perhaps you will remove the perception if it becomes evident that the object of your investigation acknowledges they are being viewed. Thank you. Thank you all for patient listening. Thank you. Thank you all.